So we have a lot of mercy in our readings today. In the first reading, the Israelites are making a golden calf, and God says, maybe I should consume them in my wrath. And Moses intercedes and says, no, you promised Abraham to be the father of many nations, and these would be your people, and if you take their lives now, what will everyone else think about you as God? And so God says, you're right, Moses. I will treat them with mercy. And in the second reading, St. Paul says, I was treated with mercy because of my ignorance. He was a persecutor of Christians, but later would become the greatest evangelist. And in the gospel today, we have the prodigal son and the father who sees him and rejoices that he returns. Now, a few things that are so beautiful about the father. First of all, the father must have been watching. Do you know that when we go astray, the Father is watching? He's searching for us, longing for us to come back. I was talking to a young person just the other day who said, I prayed when I was supposed to this summer, and then when I was free, I didn't pray at all. So they went through this prayer period and then no prayer period. And I said, well, that sometimes happens. We have the ups and downs, but the Father was still watching and waiting. And the father ran to the son, saw him a long way off. Now that would not have been a very admirable act in the Middle East, to take the father and run to the son. But he would have waited. And so the father actually humbles himself. Now the second son is out complaining. Hey, what about me? What about my party? And what does the father do? Once again, the father goes out to the son. He goes outside where the son refused to come in and says, please, everything I have is yours. And what about the possessions? The youngest son said, give me half of what's supposed to be for me, right? And so the father gave the half. And he went off and squandered it. But then he comes back, and suddenly he's got a robe and a ring and sandals. Well, didn't you fling those all away already? This is part of the superabundance of the Father. There's no limit to the reward, to the grace, to the mercy, to the love. It's not like you can spend it and then you're done. Even the second son, who would have had half, the father said to the second son, everything I have is yours, not just half. So today the Lord is showing us that He is very merciful. And maybe your summer had some waywardness from the Lord. Maybe your summer was kept on track. Maybe as you start this school year, you're met with new temptations. What am I going to do this year? Who am I going to hang out with? What kind of life will I live? The Father's longing for us to come to Him and for the saints and angels to rejoice. Now, I shared with my seminarians this morning a couple quotes from some young people your age who actually considered it an act of mercy to die as a martyr. In Poland, there were many martyrs in World War II, and there was a few young people, some seminarians, and at Dachau there was a prison camp. They had a special site for any religious and priests and seminarians. They go there and they kill them. And there was another who were part of a small group, which was a Salesian group, and they all died by the guillotine. But what strikes me is, out of the quotes that I've read, they talk about their situation as one of mercy. And I'm still pondering and trying to wrap my mind around it, but here it is. These young people who were 20 and 21, part of a Salesian group, the Gestapo picked them up and said, you're done. But you can do one last thing. You can write a letter to your loved ones. Write a letter to your loved ones, and then we're going to take your life. And so the first Edward says, he writes to his sister and mother, say thank you to God for His inscrutable mercy. He has given me peace. It is the will of God. He talked about mercy. And another Edward says, These decisions of God are strange, but we must accept them because it is for the good of the soul. Now, where you, Mummy, won't have me, take Jesus, writing to his mother. And Francis writes, don't feel sorry for me because I have to leave this world at such a young age. I am in the state of mercy. I am going to heaven. Please pray for me. I think that's really, I'm really struck by this and inspired by these young saints your age who were giving their life for Christ in World War II to the Nazis, and yet they felt there was mercy that was given to them in that. And I invite you to meditate on that, how a martyr would experience that as a gift of mercy. So today we come to the Heavenly Father who runs to us and says, I am so glad that you have returned. And let's thank and receive the Lord for his mercy.